Hello friends, welcome to our channel Knowledge Amplifier. So we are back with another very important AWS service, and that is called AWS CloudTrail. So in this particular video, first we will try to explore what this service is used for, how to integrate this particular service with any other AWS service, and then after getting this theoretical understanding, we will try to implement a small project practically in our AWS account. Okay, right? So without any further delay, let us try to understand what this AWS CloudTrail is. So AWS CloudTrail is a service that enables governance, compliance, operational auditing and risk auditing for your AWS account. So if you are working in cloud domain, then from this terminologies itself, I hope you are getting some feeling out of it that what this service is used for. Let me give you a very simple example. Suppose here you are having some EC2 machine running in your AWS account, and one user of your AWS account has terminated this EC2 machine. Okay, and now you want to know which user has terminated this particular cluster. So that time your CloudTrail service can help us. Whatever API call, maybe using console, CLI, SDK, or any IAM user or any IAM role is making in your AWS account, all those things are getting captured in a particular service, that is our CloudTrail service. Okay, we can go to CloudTrail and inspect like which user has done the activity, what is the source IP, and all other related information, right? That's what CloudTrail is used for. And that's what is written here, that it provides event history of your AWS account related to activity, including action taken through AWS Management Console, AWS SDK, command line tools, or any other AWS service. So what we are trying to say here, that consider the same example. Suppose here you are having a EC2 machine, and one of your user, maybe that is IAM user, they are terminating this machine using AWS Management Console, they are terminating, or maybe AWS SDK, maybe using Boto 3 they are terminating, or using AWS CLI they are terminating. All these kind of things are called events. Okay, and CloudTrail helps in accumulating or capturing these kind of event histories. Okay, using which we can do different auditing, whether that is operational auditing, governance, risk auditing, etc, etc. Cool. So I hope you understood up to this particular place. So here I can draw the diagram properly. Let me just erase this particular part. So here I can say that here I am having my CloudTrail service, and here maybe I am having AWS Management Console. Some activities we are performing. For example, some user is logging in this particular AWS Management Console. Some user are using some access key, secret key. Some new IAM users are created. New access key, secret keys are getting created. All these kind of things are nothing but calling some sort of API in the backend. Now those APIs events it will capture, CloudTrail will capture. Okay, from console. Apart from that, from which locations it can capture? Some API call if we are doing using AWS CLI, that also it will capture. For example, some API call we are doing using SDK, whatever operation we are implementing using Python Boto 3, that is nothing but calling some sort of API in the backend, right? So that SDK activity is also CloudTrail capturing. Then any IAM user or any IAM role, if they are calling any API, CloudTrail will gather them. And this CloudTrail service we can basically use for inspect and audit purpose. Okay, so suppose for example compliance, you might think how we can use CloudTrail for compliance. It is like, for example, I am just giving you a simple situation, that here I am having some IAM user, and only from some specific IP addresses this user should log in our AWS Management Console. Okay, I am here, I can write AMC, AWS Management Console. So now suppose this is basically guided or following the compliance of our organization, that from some sort of specific IP sets only the user should log in. Okay, now suppose one user has logged in from some IP which ideally is not in that list. Okay, so as I told you that CloudTrail capture all those events starting from console sign in also, and they capture the source IP from where this event occurred, right? So console login also is nothing but a API call in the backend, so it will capture the IP address also, the source IP. and here in CloudTrail it will be captured. Here I can write CloudTrail. Okay, now the compliance team can inspect that okay, this particular source IP is not in the valid IP list, so kind of this service CloudTrail is helping in maintaining the compliance within the organization. Okay, right? Maybe the compliance team can send a mail or a Slack message to this particular user in automated manner whenever they try to log in using some IP which is not in the allowed IP list, right? So in that way, in compliance also CloudTrail service can help us, right? So I hope some sort of basic sense you got that what this particular service is used for. Now here we will try to understand one very popular integration, and that is CloudTrail Event Bridge integration. So let us try to understand why I have picked up these two service integration. So CloudTrail here, what suppose this is here our CloudTrail. What it is doing, it is capturing all sort of API events from different location, right? And we are having event bridge. Why we use event bridge? Mostly to trigger some AWS service when some event occurs, right? So if we can send any sort of API activity from CloudTrail to event bridge, and from event bridge then we can trigger any AWS service to perform certain activity, right? So that's why this particular integration plays a very vital role, and using these two we can automate several compliance or security related process, and that's why industry use these two integration very frequently. So let us try to understand these two integration with one practical example or practical situation. So in many organizations there is a general pattern we follow, that whenever some access key and secret key get created, after the creation date within 90 days the key has to be rotated to maintain the security. The compliance team send the automated email that please rotate this particular key to the key user, right? And how to do that particular automation, that I have already covered using this particular architecture, but this is time based architecture. Okay, let me write here, it is time based. So what we are doing basically here we are having one event bridge scheduler where we are basically scheduling a Lambda function using corn expression. And what this Lambda is doing, it is basically first creating a Boto3 client for our IAM service, and first it is listing all the users in that particular account. Under each users, what are the access keys available that it is basically extracting, and from that access keys metadata it is extracting the create timestamp for that access key, and it is checking whether the access key is created 90 days before or not with respect to today. If it is no, it is not doing anything, but if the access keys are created 90 days before, then it is sending an email to that particular IAM user and requesting them to rotate the access keys because they are 90 days older, and to follow the compliance of that organization they have to rotate that. Okay, like that this architecture is basically working in time based manner, that is every day the event bridge is basically triggering a Lambda to check this. So here it is not an event based architecture, because here event bridge based on schedule manner every day or based on certain day interval we can check and scan our complete AWS access key set, and based on that we are sending. Suppose we want to implement the same mechanism using event based approach. Okay, it is not like the Lambda has to run in some schedule interval. We will run Lambda only when it is needed. Okay, that is only when for some specific access key the 90 days will be coming, that time only suppose we want to trigger Lambda. That is this time based architecture if we want to convert to event based. Okay, how to do that? Let us try to understand that with that CloudTrail service. So here to convert that particular time based architecture to event based architecture, here we can follow this particular pattern. So let us try to understand from beginning. So here we are having some user, they are creating some access key. Okay, so this is basically nothing but calling an API thing in the backend, whether the access keys are getting created using SDK, CLI or AWS management console, etc. All these things will be calling an API in the backend. So this event or activities will be captured in our CloudTrail. Okay, and now from CloudTrail we can pass those event in event bridge. Okay, and what we can do using that event bridge, we can trigger a Lambda function. What this Lambda code will do? The Lambda code will make an entry in a DynamoDB table. And what it will make an entry? Like first some sort of unique ID it will enter, because DynamoDB need a primary key. Then the second property is what is the access key. It will not keep the secret key here in the DynamoDB, because if access key and secret key both we are keeping in DynamoDB, that will be again a security risk, because if someone has access to this particular DynamoDB table, they might misuse it. Okay, so some sort of primary key, and then we'll be putting the access key, and then we'll be putting when the key is created, and then maybe some user level information like who created that particular access key, maybe their source IP, those kind of information will be putting. And point number 5 is very important, is TTL will be putting. Okay, right? So what is TTL here? TTL here will be nothing but the API key or AWS access key creation date plus 90 days. Okay, that timestamp will be putting in TTL. So what will happen, based on the TTL feature, by default, once that 90th day will appear, that once that epoch timestamp will appear, DynamoDB will automatically delete that particular item from this table. Okay, right? And then using DynamoDB stream, based on that delete activity, we can trigger another Lambda, which will basically send email using ACS to that respective IAM user, or in some Slack channel we can provide a notification that this particular access key was created on this date and it is going to expire, so please rotate that particular key and update in all the places wherever you are using it. Okay, right? So now this particular architecture using CloudTrail event bridge and DynamoDB TTL feature became an event driven approach instead of time based approach. Okay, earlier using event bridge scheduler, we were continuously or daily or with some certain days interval, we are triggering our Lambda function to check whether some access key is going to expire soon or not. But here in this approach, what we are doing, that whenever access keys are getting created, we are keeping that in DynamoDB table with some TTL feature, and that TTL will basically decide that that particular row will be deleted from the DynamoDB table within 90 days. Okay, right? Or on 90 days, we can say in better way. So on 90th day, when the data will be deleted, using DynamoDB stream, here we'll be basically having DynamoDB stream. Let me write. Okay, so using DynamoDB stream, we are triggering Lambda. From Lambda, using ACS, we can send the notification. So this became a complete event driven approach instead of time based approach, right? So now, without any further delay, we will try to implement at least this particular part. Let me highlight with some other color. That is, up to this particular part we will try to implement, okay, in our AWS account. Anyway, from DynamoDB, once the entry is made, you can easily configure the TTL feature, and based on that you can trigger Lambda. And already I discussed this particular pattern several times in my previous videos. I'll be providing the required links in the description box. If you want, you can go through those videos and implement this particular section as well. But here currently primarily we'll focus on, once a user creates some access key, CloudTrail should capture that. From CloudTrail, using event bridge, we should trigger a Lambda, and that Lambda should make an entry in DynamoDB table. One should be primary key, one should be API key creation date, one should be the source IP address, one should be the access key, etc, etc. Okay, right? That way we'll be becoming very comfortable with CloudTrail and event bridge integration, and then you can play with this particular service and bring your own architecture, solve your own required use cases, right? So without any further delay, we'll quickly jump into the implementation section. So here I will go to my AWS management console, and here I will first go to CloudTrail, and here if you click on this, by default CloudTrail always capture all the activities or events whatever is happening on your AWS account. So for example, earlier I created some access keys. So let me just search here that particular event. So whenever access key get created, it should obviously contain create in the event name. So I am just searching with create, and here you can see create access key event was captured earlier as part of history. And here if you observe this particular JSON, all the event information it is capturing. For example, what is the access key? What is the status of that key currently? Like when it is created, obviously it is active. What is the create date, right? And what is the source IP from where it is created, that also it captured. Let me show you that. Here you can see the source IP address, right? So this way, whenever some API call is going to happen in your AWS account, CloudTrail will capture that. Okay, so now we will try to implement this particular pattern as I told you. So let's start with CloudTrail. First, what we need to do to capture all this event, we need to create a trail. Okay, so what trail basically helps us here if I just show you, using console CLI SDK and using IAM user role, whatever API activity is happening, CloudTrail is capturing that. Now if you want to store these kind of events or activities, whatever is captured by CloudTrail, you can basically send those informations in S3. Okay, and that you have to enable to make integration with Event Bridge and all. It is not like we will use S3 event notification to trigger Event Bridge, but from CloudTrail, in which S3 location we want to store the logs for long-term storage, that we need to configure, and there we use Trail to implement this particular activity. That is, CloudTrail older logs will be purged in S3, right? So that we need to configure first. So here I will go to CloudTrail, and here in the trails I need to create a trail. By default, this trail capture all the API calls across various regions. Okay, so demo yt trail service, and create new S3 bucket, that is fine. And here bucket name I need to give demo yt test trail, some name I have given. I don't want to store the logs with KMS encryption, so I have unchecked that. And then here let it be other properties as it is. Now what kind of events we want to capture? So here our primary motive is to capture whenever some IAM access keys get created, right? So that is nothing but create resource or create access key, create EC2 instance, that kind of thing. So those are captured using management events. Okay, so this particular thing is checked, let it be that as it is. API activity read write both, and then I will click on next, and here I will click on create trail. Okay, so here you can see our trail is getting created. It will capture all the events whatever is occurring in our AWS account, and then it will pass to S3 location. Okay, right? Now here I will create my Lambda function. So first let me show you the Lambda code. So first what we are doing, we are importing JSON and all other necessary modules. Now this Lambda will make an entry whenever any IAM access key is created in a DynamoDB table, right? So for that we are basically creating a Porto 3 resource for our DynamoDB table. Here we are creating a very simple function which is basically inserting a record in DynamoDB table, and this is our main Lambda handler which is basically getting triggered from CloudTrail event via Event Bridge, right? So to write the rest part of the code, here I am printing this event, but that is totally optional. Now here data to insert, here what are the fields we are accessing? First is access key. From a JSON dictionary, whatever is coming in event, from their access keys I am extracting, and then here when the access key is created, that is basically another field whatever we are interested to insert in our DynamoDB table, that also we have captured, and the source IP address, from which IP address that particular access key is created, and we need a primary key for our DynamoDB table to insert, right? So whatever events CloudTrail generate, for that it always associate a primary key that is called CloudTrail key. So that one we can use as primary key for our DynamoDB table, right? So that we are extracting, and then we are calling this particular function which is used to insert a row in DynamoDB, right? So that way whenever any IAM access key will be created in the DynamoDB table, we will be having an entry, as simple as that. Okay, so without any further delay, first what I will do, I will create this Lambda function. So here I will go to Lambda, and then here I'll click on create function. Here I give the name demo yt 0402 CloudTrail, right? And here Python environment I'll choose latest one, Python 3.12, and without any further changes I'll simply create the function. So here our Lambda code we have pasted, and I will simply click on deploy. Let's wait for a few seconds, and it is done. Now I'll go to configuration section. First I will go to general configuration, and I will increase the timeout little bit. So here 2 minutes 3 seconds I'll keep, and I'll save this. And then here I'll go to permission section. So this Lambda will make write events in our DynamoDB table. So I will give DynamoDB write permission as of now to this role. So here add permission, attach policy, and here I will give search for DynamoDB. So as of now I am giving DynamoDB full access, not a problem, but when you are working or creating this particular pipeline for production system, then better to fine tune this access and provide to Lambda. Okay, and then here this is the table name where we will make an entry. So here I will open AWS Management Console in a new tab, and here I will create the DynamoDB table. Now the partition here, primary key we need to provide. So as I told you, we are going to use CloudTrail key as a primary key for our DynamoDB, and let it be string data type, not a problem. And here I will simply click on create table. So here you can see the table is getting created. So let's wait for a few seconds, and here it is done. Okay, cool. Now last step, what we need to do, we need to basically create an event bridge. From her CloudTrail will pass those events in event bridge, and event bridge will only filter the IAM access key creation event, and that it will send to the Lambda. Okay, so that will do. So if you want to explore that what are the IAM events CloudTrail basically captured, for that here is a beautiful documentation available. Let me just show you that. So here you can see IAM CloudTrail events. What are the API events whatever occur in our AWS account related to IAM service, those what is the list what CloudTrail captured, that here you can see. So one of the important event or activity what our CloudTrail captured, that is create access key, right? And that's what we need. So this one we will use to basically create the event bridge rule. So here I will search for Amazon event bridge, and here I will go to rules, and here simply I will click on create rule. Rule name demo yt0402 lambda triggered, some name I have given. Event pass, let it be default. I'll click on next, and then here I'll scroll below which AWS service event I want to capture, that is IAM service. What is the event type? Event type you have to choose all API call via CloudTrail, because CloudTrail capture more events than event bridge itself. Okay, and whether all events from IAM we want to capture? No, we want to capture specific operation, and that operation is create access key. So I will just copy that particular event name from here, and based on that the AWS itself has created the event pattern json, and here you can see the source should be iam.amazonaws.com and the event name should be create access key. When this event will occur, we want to trigger our Lambda. So now we need to choose the target, right? So event bridge will trigger Lambda. So here I will search Lambda function, and here the function name I need to choose. So in our case this is the function name, I'll choose that, and here I'll search for it, and chosen. I'll click on next, and then here I'll click on create rule. So here our rule got created successfully. Let's refresh this particular console, then we should see that here event bridge to Lambda trigger should be added. Let's refresh. So here you can see from event bridge the Lambda trigger is added. So whenever in CloudTrail new IAM access key will be created, it will pass those event to event bridge by default, that has default integration. From event bridge we can trigger the Lambda will make an entry in DynamoDB table. We can configure the TTL feature. As of now we are not doing that, but based on TTL after the 90 days automatically that row will be deleted, and it will trigger another Lambda to send automatic notification to the user to rotate access keys. Okay, right? So here as of now I will explore the table items for our DynamoDB what just now we have created, and here you can see there is not a single entry available, and that is obvious because till now we have not created any new IAM access keys after this configuration, right? So now what we will do, we will open our security credential section and we will try to create one access key, and we'll observe whether this framework is working or not. Okay, so I will simply click on create access keys. I understand, and I'll create these access keys. Okay, access keys are created. So by default what should happen, that this activity is nothing but an API call using AWS management console that the CloudTrail should capture, and it should forward that particular event to event bridge. In event bridge, that event will be filtered, and here create access key, this is the event. So it should ideally pass to the output section, and based on that the Lambda should be triggered. Let's see. So here I will go to monitoring section, and here I will click on view logs in CloudWatch. So here you can see we are having a latest log at 8:42 am. Currently it is 8:43 am, right? So this is the latest log run, and here you can see we are basically doing print event in our AWS Lambda code, right? Here let me just show you. So here we are doing print event. So that's why here this event, whatever came from CloudTrail via event bridge, that the Lambda is printing. And here you can clearly see that creation date and then event time. Okay, what is the access key it has created, all this information it has printed. So once you print this event in CloudWatch, then what you can do, you can use JSON parser or JSON formatter, and based on that you can basically derive your this particular code section, because no one can remember this. Just we can print some sample event, and based on that we can derive our code out of it. Right now here the Lambda should not be stopping just by simply printing the event. It should also make an entry in the DynamoDB table. So let's see whether it is done or not. So I'll refresh this, and here you can see beautifully this particular IAM access key creation event is captured. So here we are having CloudTrail key, which is acting as a primary key, then the access key whatever it has created. Let me just show you. I'll copy this, and here if I search, that is the access key or not? Yeah, that is the access key only. And then when it is created, that particular time also it has captured, and the source IP address also it has captured. Okay, so these are the primary informations which we can store in DynamoDB table. So here we can put one more column, that is TTL, and that TTL should be with respect to the creation date. You can add 90 days, and that epoch time you can configure as the TTL feature, and on that particular epoch instance which will come after 90 days, that time automatically the DynamoDB row will be deleted. Based on that you can trigger Lambda to send automated notification. Okay, so let me show you another event, how quickly and in almost near real time this pipeline is capturing the information. So here I will click on again create access key, and I'll create that. So here this is the access key now got created. Earlier we have seen in our DynamoDB only one entry is there. If I refresh this, here you can see currently two entries are there. One is having older created on, and one is having newer created on. So this is newer, 315 it is created, and here it is 312. So this is our new access key. You can validate that always. Here let's see, and here you can see that same access key is getting captured, right? So using this CloudTrail and event bridge integration, you can automate lot of your auditing process, whether that is security related, compliance related, governance related, etc, etc, right? So I hope you understood the power of CloudTrail and why we need to use this, and in which use cases we should use this. And I will suggest you to implement this particular small practical implementation, which will give you much better idea out of it. If you have any doubt, you can always ask in the comment section. I will try to reply back ASAP, and along with this particular tutorial, try to go through the documentation links whatever I'll be providing in the description box, because from there you will get much more idea out of it, right? This is all for this video. If you find this video helpful, then please like, share and comment. Subscribe our channel if you have not subscribed till now, and don't forget to press the bell icon to get the notification of our latest videos. Thank you for watching.